In this video, we're going to discuss the anchor points on shapes, adding and deleting anchor points, moving anchor points, and converting anchor points. So let's see what an anchor point is. On a path, an anchor point is any point that is securing the shape of the path between segments. All right, so in this case, it's a rectangle. We have 4 anchor points. This rectangle would also have 4. This shape, on the other hand, is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different anchor points with a curved segment between these two. When you have a curved segment and you click on an anchor point, you have what is a control arm. At the end of that arm is a circle, whereas an anchor point is a square. If I grab the circle end of a control arm and begin to swing it about, I can bend the arc of that curved segment somewhat, and it allows me to control it. I can pull it, I can move it closer to the point, and move it more into a straight line, a slide arc. It's called a Bezier curve, and it does allow you then to manipulate your points. In order to manipulate your single points, you want to use your white direct selection arrow tool. That allows you to select single points. When a point is selected, it is a solid color highlighted, whereas the other points are not. And then that'll also allow you to move that point. I just click, hold the button down, and drag. Illustrator has a new feature now. In order to kind of curve a corner, rather than giving it the control arms and trying to manipulate it that way, if you come into this little round button here and click and pull in, you can give a rounded radius to that and keep dragging, and it can change as you would like. If you're trying to make corners all the same, let's undo that, and I could select the whole item, get my direct select arrow. Notice now all of my corners anchor points are a live highlighted. So when I go to click on one of these corners on one of the rounding buttons, they would all round for me. Depending on this angle though of that curve, these rounded slightly different, but all these 90-degree angles curved the same radius degrees. I'm going to undo that. To undo something, a reminder here, your keyboard would be the command or the control key. Hold it down and push the letter Z, and that will undo. In another place you can undo what you just did under Edit, the first one in the top of the list allows you to undo it, or redo what you just did, just in case. That way you can compare a change and check it back and forth to each other until you're ready to commit. All right, so there's a little bit on what anchor points are, and so far how to move them. We are going to now add and delete some points. I'm also going to show you another feature here of being able to copy. There's several ways you can select the item that you want to copy. The item, I should use the right vocabulary, the object. Under Edit, I could do my copy and then paste and all of that, but let's look at what our keyboard shortcuts are. Keyboard shortcuts are always on the far right-hand side of any of the menus. Do not worry about having to memorize them all, but ones that you would use over and over again are really good, handy ones. So you could do your command or your control key with the C to copy. But there's also a quick way to do it. As long as you're in your your selection tool, you have the object selected, hold down the Alt or Option key and see how my cursor changed to 2 arrows. That means it will make a copy when I click, hold, and drag. I get a second copy. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that on down, and I'm going to make one more copy of that and bring it over here. Oop, I held the wrong button. Now let's see. There we go. I was holding the command instead of the Alt Option. All right, now let's add an anchor point in order to change this pocket shape a little bit more like a jeans pocket. underneath our pen tool here, you can click and hold, and then you get the menu of all the different tools that are buried underneath the pen tool. Remember, if you come out to the far right to this long column with the tiny little arrow, it's your tear off strip. When I have the cursor on top of that and it's highlighted in the dark gray, let my finger off the mouse button, and then I have all those tools quick and easy to get to. So the pen tool is for drawing new shapes. Okay, remember there, click if you want a hard corner. If you want a curved corner, click, hold, and drag, and then closing a shape is back here. All right, I'm going to undo that. I don't need that. Get rid of that. There we are. Now, the second one here is the pen tool, the plus sign, and all the tools will also at the far right show you what the keyboard shortcut is. This is just the plus sign. But we want to add a point right down here at the center bottom of this pocket. So there I have added another anchor point. Tell you what, on this one, let's move our pocket so that we are centered over our graph. That way we use our graph in order to help ourselves align things. This time I actually want to go ahead and put a point at about 1/2 inch away from the corners. So I zoomed in so I could see my graph a little easier. My plus sign takes me right back to the add a point. So I would count 1, 2, 3, 4 of my lines away from the edge, and that would be a half inch. Please use the anchor point tool on a segment or a path. All right, there we go. My point cursor was just not close enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to be right on top. So now we've added these a quarter or 1/2 inch in from each edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you barely see? I know my grid is very light, but I am counting the 1/8 of an inch, so I know I'm at 1/2 inch. So that's our plus add points. The minus sign here, delete anchor points, and you can see it's the minus sign on your keyboard. So I'm going to actually subtract or remove the corner point, and now I have a beveled edge to my pocket. So let's zoom out a little bit. Z is the keyboard shortcut for the zoom tool, and the Alt Option key lets you zoom out. So there we have changed the corners here. It's called a beveled corner for a pocket. And now let's come back to this one here, get our direct select, and get this one point. All the others are white, so they are not highlighted. This is my active point. I'm going to click and I'm going to hold and drag down till I get to there. Now I have another pocket shape. This is one similar to jeans. This is one you can find sometimes on men's shirts. Up here is just the standard rectangle or square pocket. So you can see very quickly we have been able to get different pocket looks. Now the last feature on the pen tool is our anchor point tool. This will allow us to change our anchor point to from a hard corner to a curved corner, or vice versa back the other way. So let's zoom in a little bit here so that we can see how this works. I can click, and when I begin to hold my button down, click and drag, you can see I am creating my control arms to make a rounded arc to the segments to the left and the right of that point. Now if I hold my shift key, that allows me to constrain it either in a direct horizontal manner, at a 45-degree manner, or it snaps to a vertical, 90 degrees vertical. So if you're needing it to be one of those ways, that's fine. Without the shift being held down, I can create some asymmetry to it and have some different shapes. So I'm going to keep my shift key just so that I know that I stay rounded. So there is one way to make a point a curved line. Or I can come back, if it is a curved point, one with control arms, and I click on it with the anchor point tool, I would convert it back to a corner point. So it will just take it to the opposite of what that point already is. And that is handy as well then for manipulating your shapes. So I'm going to zoom out here so that we can see what we ended with on this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll look at some other features with anchor points.